I love samurais. I love old samurai movies. I love samurai documentaries, samurai games, and especially samurai anime. Many of you know how much I love music and how important it is to the processes of this channel, and that all started with Samurai Champloo. Samurai Champloo was a show that melded all the best parts of the samurai genre with what is definitely the best soundtrack of any anime ever. I really loved Samurai Champloo, and it was one of those shows that I really wished got a second season, despite it being cancelled because I think the studio exploded or something. So you can probably imagine how excited I was when Yasuke got announced in 2021. An anime about one of the most interesting people in Japanese samurai history, animated by MAPPA, and the soundtrack is by Flying Lotus. This show literally had everything going for it, and then I started to watch it. Initially, when I first started Yasuke, I assumed it would be like Samurai Champloo, in which it's just a normal samurai story. Maybe some enemies use like eccentric weapons like a scythe or a Ferris wheel with guns on it, kinda like an Afro Samurai. But in Yasuke, they use eccentric weapons, but they also use these big mecha suits, and not just any mechs. These are mechs that in the canon, they say that they stole them from the Mongols. Can you imagine trying to defend your land and you see Genghis Khan pull up in a Decepticon? At that point, just sack my city, bro. I'm not a huge fan of this, honestly. It's not a huge deal, but I would prefer if there wasn't mechs. I'm okay with having weird weapons and all that, but my favorite parts of samurai anime or just samurai battles is when both the swordsmen run at each other and slash, and then they put their sword back in the sheath, and then suddenly the cut materializes. That shit is just so fire to me, bro. And you can't really do that with this big ass transformer. Yasuke doesn't really have that many problems because it's not that long of a show. It's 6 episodes, with each episode being about 30 minutes, which ultimately comes out to about 3 hours of content. That's a GTA heist setup, that's nothing. But it's fairly short to be a season of a show. Because of how short it is, I personally don't think it has a lot of opportunities to show a lot of problems, but there were definitely a lot of problems. I felt that the whole aura surrounding the show was a little strange. Like, I love having a story about Yasuke, and I love how a big part of the story was this idea of Yasuke not belonging anywhere, but I also felt like at some points Yasuke, the main character of the show, became a side character so a bunch of random shit can get put on screen, and there wasn't really any depth to any of the enemies he would fight. But because this was all so random and so out of this world, it genuinely took focus away from Yasuke, which in a show that's shorter than my viewer retention rate is pretty detrimental. The show starts off with a depiction of a huge battle in the middle of Sengoku era Japan, with samurais and mechs and magic. Like, it looks cool, but you already know how I feel about it. So it shows Yasuke giving a report to Oda Nobunaga, who's getting super faded, and then, right before the scene ends, it shows Oda committing seppuku, with Yasuke being the one to behead him, and then Yasuke wakes up. Yasuke is surrounded by a bunch of empty bottles of alcohol, and even though they don't have cars, decided to do the closest thing he can do to drink and drive. He ends up at a bar to drink some more because apparently it's not that cool to have a functioning liver. When as he's sitting, he gets ambushed by this masked child who's supposed to be the I'm super energetic and eager, you gotta train me, man. He's not even a bad character, but I can take him or leave him. He's not very consequential to the story. The kid Ichiro later goes on to visit his friend Saki, who is bedridden because she got like a cold or something. I don't remember. But she also has these very vague superpowers, but they're what's causing her illness. So as she gets worse, her mom Ichika requests that Yasuke guide them in his boat to a doctor in the north, who would be able to help her daughter get better. Initially Yasuke refuses, but Ichiro calls him a bitch, so he decides to do it anyway. But almost immediately after beginning their journey, they are attacked by this goofy ass team of weirdos who want to take Saki. Why do they want to take Saki? Well, there's this Catholic priest who's trying to take over Europe. Oops! Wait, he's dead, and now that whole plot point is over. This is a huge problem I have with Yasuke. This show is so unbelievably rushed. I don't understand why this show had to be 6 episodes, when if they did 10, I really feel like everyone could have gotten fleshed out more. Even though 10 is still short, the story would have had more room to breathe. But instead, I feel like I don't ever really know what's happening, because nobody does. If we go ahead and compare Yasuke again to Samurai Champloo, Samurai Champloo had 26 episodes, and I still actually honestly felt like it was a little fast, but overall I was pretty content with the story progression. Yasuke only has 6 episodes. You could forget to pause the episode, go to the bathroom, and you're on episode 4 already. There's simply not enough time to make this a worthwhile story, especially when you're wasting so much time on this subplot of this random Catholic priest trying to take over Romania or whatever, only to have him killed off anyway. Like, what was even the point of this? This was 3 episodes that got wasted on this subplot and nothing came of it. Dude, look at his mutant powers. He probably could have did whatever he was trying to do solo. Why is he even here? By episode 4, they make it to the doctor, who is actually one of Yasuke's old friends, and the doctor isn't really a doctor. Saki's mom was gonna take her here so she could get training on how to use her powers. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Saki's mom died during the encounter on the river, but don't worry, I'm not the only one who forgot. The show forgot too. That's why they forgot to show her actually die and just let Yasuke say that she did.
Your mother did not survive the encounter on the river.
Anyway, later the army of the daimyo goes to attack Yasuke, the doctor, and everybody, with the general Mitsuhide, one of Yasuke's old allies, leading the army. Mitsuhide is like a demon or something, and he hates Yasuke because he's racist, and Oba Nobunaga liked Yasuke more than him. Also, he's got a really frightening hairline, but that's neither here nor there. And then Saki and the doctor beat the daimyo in the spirit world. I'm getting a headache, man. They beat the daimyo and then defeat the army and then achieve peace in the valley, or whatever. I don't even know what's going on at this point. But this all encompasses my main issue with Yasuke. It's a really weird show. I don't really understand what's happening most of the time. It's very difficult to follow narratively. All the external stuff is awesome. Animation looks good, music is amazing, but it's more so the internals that really mess it up for me. But despite that, there are some good aspects around this show. I like the commentary that the show tries to make surrounding racism and belonging because of Yasuke's identity and him being in Japan. I like the fights. I thought they were cool. I like the conversation that was trying to be made throughout the show on whether or not tradition should be a thing that's strictly adhered to constantly, even to the detriment of the people. But the sad thing about all this is almost every aspect about the show that I liked has been outdone by a different samurai media. The conversation on tradition I think was done much better in Ghost of Tsushima.
You have no honor, and you are a slave to it.
The animation, fights, and choreography in Samurai Champloo blows this show out of the water, honestly, despite it being much older. And the music of Samurai Champloo, I actually prefer it way more. I think that if Yasuke had maintained a more grounded story, as opposed to doing all this eye candy with mechs and magic and demons and all that, it probably would have been a generational anime that people would have been talking about for way after it was released. But instead of that, it just became one of those anime that just came and went without anyone anywhere to say anything about it. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, and comment down below if you've watched this show before, because I brought it up to my friends and they were staring at me like I had schizophrenia. We're trying to get to 52 videos before this year ends, and this is number 14, so thank you all for the support, and let's keep the ball rolling. I'll see you guys next week.
One step, one step. One step all it took, I couldn't even look to a friend. Fake testing all in all, they couldn't help in the end. One step on all.